In this video, we are going to share everything that you need to know about how to plan your estate with LegalZoom. We are going to cover why you would want to plan your estate, how to do it through LegalZoom, and what are some of the pros and cons of using a platform like LegalZoom. Stick around to the end of the video because you won't want to miss anything to make sure that you know everything about how to start your estate planning. Okay, so let's get right into it. The first thing that we need to talk about is what is estate planning? Estate planning is the process of anticipating and arranging for the management and disposal of a person's estate during the person's life in preparation for a person's future incapacity or death. So here is the definition of estate planning, but what it basically means is preparing the assets and getting everything ready for your death so that your beneficiaries know what's going to happen when you die. So your estate planning documents are going to specify the following: who can make financial and healthcare decisions for you, what type of end-of-life care you want, your preferences for funeral arrangements, who will act as a guardian for your minor children, where your assets will go after your death. All these are really important questions to decrease the unknown variables when you die. You really don't want your beneficiaries wondering what is going to happen. And that's the unfortunate thing for a lot of people. When a loved one dies and they didn't have anything in place for their estate planning, then that person is in the dark about what's going to happen to all of their assets and other things for the beneficiaries. Now, it's a really bad place to leave the beneficiaries of your assets to, so you want to make sure that you get everything in order and plan your estate accordingly. Here are some of the components to planning your estate effectively. The first one is living will and testament of a living trust. The second is financial power of attorney. The third is living will. This is a healthcare directive. The last one is HIPAA, which is a healthcare release. Now, all four of these are the components of LegalZoom's estate planning. We're going to show you their platform here in a second, but let's just briefly go over one more thing, and that is why you would want to plan your estate. Now, we talked about your beneficiaries being left in the dark as a bad thing, but the main reason why you want to plan your estate is because if you do not, then the state law will dictate what happens to your assets. Now, if you don't want the state law dictating who gets your assets, then you should really make sure that you have a plan for when you die. Obviously, this is a really morbid thing and nobody wants to talk about death, but this is really important just to make sure that everything goes smoothly for the people that are going to receive your asset. Okay, so now that we've talked about what estate planning is and why you would want to do it, let's go over LegalZoom's platform. So we're going to click this Start My Estate Plan here in a second, but let's scroll down a little bit and see some of the features of the platform. Okay, so some of the reasons why you might want to choose LegalZoom is it's convenient for you. They have a step-by-step attorney support, which is actually a really cool feature that we'll show you here in a second. And all of the documents in the estate planning for LegalZoom's platform are going to be good for all 50 states. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit here and you'll see that there's two different plans. There's the last will and the living trust. We're going to talk about the difference between those two here in a minute. But first, let's scroll down to see what these packages offer. Okay, so both of them offer attorney assist, which is this really cool feature that we just talked about a second ago. LegalZoom is really good for legal counsel. So they give you a free year of legal questions for your estate plan, and this is by LegalZoom's attorneys. So this service is going to renew annually for $199 per year. This is a really cool feature of LegalZoom. You have access to attorneys that can answer your estate planning questions, and it's really awesome that they include this in both of their plans. Okay, so the next thing down here for both of the plans is the financial power of attorney and a living will, which is just your advanced healthcare directive. You also get unlimited revisions to your estate plan. That means you can change these documents anytime you want at no cost for 1 year. That's a really cool feature as well. If you're worried that you might want to add things later on, you'll have a year to do that for free. And lastly, here at the bottom, the one-person bundle is going to include one last will or one living trust. They both include one power of attorney, and they will both include one living will. Now, you can go ahead and go to the top here if you want to do this for two people, and you can change that accordingly. Just know that these prices are going to go up. Before we discuss the differences between the last will and the living trust, let's just briefly go over some of the other steps here that they offer. So if you're a little bit hesitant and want to know what the estate planning process involves, let's go over the 3 steps here. So the first one, you're going to schedule a call with your attorney, then you're going to complete a questionnaire, and then you're going to have ongoing attorney support. It's really simple. And then also they have really great resources on LegalZoom. Not only is this video really good, but they have a bunch of other FAQs and other resources on their platform too. If you want to go ahead and check out this video, you can, but it's a lot of what we just spoke about earlier. And then here are some definitions for the topics that we're going to be discussing today, as well as an FAQ section here. Okay, now let's discuss the difference between a last will and a living trust. A last will is a state-specific document that's going to allow you to decide what happens to your property or your minor children if you have them. Now, a living trust is basically the same thing, but better. With a living trust, you're going to help your beneficiaries avoid delays and potentially probate court. Depending on the complexities of your assets and your trusts, your beneficiaries might have to go to probate probate court. This is something that you can discuss with LegalZoom's attorneys and get some questions answered once you start the estate planning process. So the living trust is going to be the better option here, especially because it's only a $150 increase for one person, and your beneficiaries will really benefit from this in the future. And if you're doing it for two people, it's only $100 more than the last will option. So we'll just briefly go through and set up the process for you for one person. So I'm going to click one person and then start my estate plan under the living trust estate plan. Once you've done that, it'll bring you to this page here, and you can go ahead and select the state that you live in. I live in California, so I will select that, and then I will select living trust here. I'm not married, so I'm going to select the one person option for me, but if you are married, you're going to want to select the two person option. Okay, so before you go ahead and check out, go ahead and look at the order summary here. These are all the things that are included, like it said on the prior page. Okay, so you have the one living trust, you also have that living will, as well as one power of attorney. It also includes the attorney advice that we talked about earlier, and that's going to renew for $199 per year. So once you're finished with that, go ahead and click checkout. Then it'll ask you if you want to print yourself. I'll just say I'll handle it myself. Now it'll ask you to complete your order with your primary contact information here. And you'll see on the right hand side here that $552 is what we were supposed to be paying, but because of the bundled savings, we're only paying $399. Okay, so go ahead and keep scrolling down here, and you can enter your mobile number here so they can keep you updated. Okay, so you can go ahead and choose your single payment plan here for $399 or the installment. Next, go ahead and enter your payment information here. And once you're finished with that, go ahead and click the box here and then agree and place order. And that's going to get the process started for your living trust with LegalZoom. It's really easy to set up and, like we said, very affordable. So let's just quickly go over some of the pros and cons about using a platform like LegalZoom. The first one is that it's very affordable. You can get a package for only $249, and that's super affordable to start planning your estate. Now, one thing I will say about LegalZoom is that it might be a good platform for somebody with smaller assets. For somebody like myself who's not married and doesn't have any dependents, it's a really good option to get started. And then what's also great about LegalZoom is that if you do want to talk to attorneys and ask them questions, you do have that option as well. So you can do this if you have more complex assets too. Now, some of the cons are the lack of guidance and personalization. Obviously, you can see that process was super simple to get started, but you can see that there weren't many options for personalization. Now, those options will come a little bit later when you have the chance to talk to an attorney after you've paid. But estate planning for a lot of people is a very emotional process, and you might want to sit down with somebody face to face. I know for someone like my grandparents, this might not be a good option because they're of an older generation and they want to be face-to-face with the attorney that is setting up their plan. So for someone that does want that face-to-face in-person interaction, then maybe using a platform like LegalZoom wouldn't be right. But overall, we really like this platform, and like we said, at that really great price of $249, it's so easy to get started. And also, they have that option to talk to attorneys and get all your questions answered, so it's really the best of both worlds here. An affordable price with the experience of professional attorneys. Now, we'll be sure to leave that link down below in the description, and just know that if you do use our link to LegalZoom, we do get a small referral fee from that. But by you using the link, it really helps the channel and allows us to keep creating free content like this. Just a disclaimer here too, this is not tax advice. Please seek a professional that will give you specific information for your situation. That's all we have for you today for how to plan your estate with LegalZoom. If you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it in the future, please leave us a like and subscribe down below. This channel is dedicated to providing entrepreneurs and business owners like yourself with content like this. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.